Welcome, everyone, to our first ministry open house for the Temple of Witchcraft. In fine temple tradition, because this was my idea, I got to do it first. And Gemini Ministry was elected to give the open house format a try. Uh, these online open houses are intended to provide members of our temple community a chance to learn more about the various ministries of the temple, to learn more about what it is we do within the context of the temple, and to have a chance to both ask questions and share ideas about things that we do within the context of the temple. So my plan for this open house, you'll notice that folks are initially muted, is to provide you with an introduction and overview of Gemini Ministries' work, the particular three primary areas of the ministry, with the assistance of some of my ministry deputies, and to have the opportunity for us to have some question and answers about anything that may be on your mind or that you may have noticed or learned during the course of this open house. Then I'm hoping to conclude with an enactment of the Gemini Ministry ritual, very appropriate for both Gemini month and Pride month. And if we have time after that to have a little off the record and off the recording time for sharing or other questions. As you may have noticed, we are recording most of this session for folks who cannot be here in person. So just please be aware that until after the ritual, things are being recorded. If you prefer not to have your voice appear on the recording, please feel free to type comments or questions in the chat window, and we'll do our best to address those as well. So as we get started, I'd like to just take a moment to center ourselves and ask you to take this moment to arrive at this place and time. Take a deep centering breath. And we call upon Zazaz, the spirit of the trickster, the guiding spirit of Gemini. You who are the bearer of the cloak and the carnelian, you who are the keeper of the mask and the medicine pouch, you who show us how to interpret and understand the secret signs, you who encourage us to never stop learning. Zazaz, we ask you to be present here with us, guiding us in love and will and wisdom. Hail and welcome. And blessed be everyone. Thank you again for taking a little time out of your Sunday afternoon or morning or evening, depending on where you are, in order to join us for this open house. As you may know, Gemini is one of the 12 ministries of the temple, structured along the structure of the zodiac. Gemini is the ministry of the trickster, who is also the storyteller, the shape changer, the facilitator of inspiration and change. And like all temple ministries, Gemini is divided into three aspects: an outer world responsibility, an organizational responsibility within the structure of the temple, and an inner world esoteric spiritual responsibility. In the case of Gemini Ministry, our outer world responsibility is for the temple's communications for our media, our social media, our website, all of the key avenues and channels of communication for the temple to communicate with the outside world, with our members in this modern interconnected age. Our structural responsibility is similar and related. We manage the temple's IT infrastructure and all of the various online and electronic resources that the temple uses to manage our classes, to manage events like this one, and to operate all of the things behind the scenes that help keep the temple running, our temple store, our online class store, all the various aspects of our website, our email, our Google Workspace account, et cetera, et cetera. If there's an online account, Gemini Ministry is basically in charge of managing it. And our spiritual or esoteric responsibility is actually sort of twofold. One is that we are responsible for working with what we call the queer mysteries. And this is the sort of vast spiritual experience that lies outside of the heteronormative binary. Many of you who are experienced with temple ritual are very familiar with the notion of a goddess and god as part of our ritual, to a binary of some sort, black and white, male and female, masculine and feminine, goddess and god. The queer spirit is what lies beyond that. When we call upon the Great Spirit in ritual, for me, that is the queer spirit, because it's everything else. As I hope my queer spirit deputy, Erica, will have the chance to explain, all divinity is actually queer. So it's a significant responsibility for us. Also, especially during Pride Month, which not coincidentally is Gemini month, we are responsible for working with our queer ancestors and honoring and remembering them, their work and their sacrifice, and as well making it as clear as we possibly can that not only are all of the queer people in our community sacred and honored as part of our tradition, but that we are a welcoming tradition, which you would think would be fairly obvious given that the temple was founded by 3 gay men who are all in a relationship together. But for some people that actually they need a little extra clarity so far as that goes. In addition, the Gemini ministry in our trickster capacity is responsible for what I like to refer to as the insubordinate role within the context of the temple. That is, as I have experienced it, I feel that oftentimes the trickster's question is really, which, depending on how it's said and in what context, can have a lot of nuance to it. But whether it's a range of, is that really a good idea? Do we really need to do that? Why are we really doing this? What is this really for? And other sorts of questions. The role of the trickster within the structure of our temple is to ask, is to say, is this really necessary? Is this always wise? And to ensure that the structure of our temple does not fall into dogma or a simple, well, that's the way we've always done it, sort of explanation for not changing things. Sometimes change is necessary, other times it's not. but we think it's always important to ask whether or not a change is called for. So those are the key responsibilities for Gemini Ministry. I am ably assisted in this by 3 deputies and a volunteer coordinator. My deputies include Lisa Jade for media, who could not be with us today because unfortunately she is dealing with the fact that Nova Scotia is still on fire. But we are sending hope and energy that she and everyone remain safe. It looks like Nova Scotia is expecting a solid week of rain. So we're hoping that the wildfires there will be contained and out fairly soon. For Infotech, I have Deputy Simon Hewitt, and for Queer Spirit, Deputy Minister Erica Barron. We're also assisted by website coordinator Leon Pizok, who does a lot of the website updating and coding behind the scenes. And of course, various folks who have been providing us with website content and other materials for your enlightenment and reading pleasure. So since Lisa Jade was not able to join us, I'm going to cover the media aspect of Gemini first before handing it off to Simon and Erica to talk about their respective aspects of the ministry. After we have gone over those things, we should have an opportunity for folks to ask some questions. So, as I mentioned, the first outer world aspect of Gemini Ministry is our communication. And these days, that primarily means electronic communication. And it includes, of course, our email and other sorts of communication, which Simon will touch upon. But for the larger public, it primarily means social media and our use of services like YouTube and the like to provide videos like this one, which is going up on YouTube eventually, to provide folks with different levels of access to temple-related information. When we first got started, it was about establishing the temple's presence on social media, primarily Facebook, Twitter, later Instagram, and just getting some traction, getting eyes on our pages, on our accounts, getting follows and the like. That involved a fair amount of activity. We encouraged a lot of posting on the part of our lead ministers and our temple leadership in order to begin to get engagement so far as that went. But we also have a fairly conservative approach to our social media in that it is primarily about putting things out there, not interacting too much, primarily because that has a tendency to entangle us in arguments and flame wars and debates and the like that is not an effective use of our time and energy. So we try to make our social media as informative as possible and use it as a channel of communication with the outside world so that we can keep people informed about what we're doing and the like. We try to avoid the notion that the temple needs to make statements or take stances on things. We like to think that our principles in our temple handbook and on our website make it very clear where we stand on things. And again, we feel that commenting on everything that's happening at any given moment is just simply not an effective use of our time when we could be doing work to better build our community so far as that goes. I think that an important element of our outreach is also that we are trying to provide information for on the very outer parts of it. We are trying to provide information for potential temple members, people who might be interested in the temple but know nothing about us, to make informed decisions. We are not trying to sell people on the temple. One of the things that we started from the very beginning was the notion that our work speaks for itself. And so we were very particular about the notion of not building ourselves up, or especially not actively praising ourselves. I mean, part of sales is, this is the greatest thing ever, and this is why you need it in your life. And we really specifically did not want the temple to proselytize. We made a very particular point of saying we are going to provide as much information as we can about who we are and what we do. And if other people who have had experiences with us want to sing our praises, they are welcome to do so, or say that we're terrible, they're also welcome to do so. And let people make up their own minds as far as that goes. And that's been sort of a maxim of our social media, especially at the widest level when dealing with the general public. Over the years, we have developed more focused forms of communication, such as our Initiates Facebook group, which is limited to members who have completed Witchcraft 1 and above in the mystery school, in order to provide a more focused community where more core temple members can communicate and share information, and we can likewise share information with them. It's honestly an ongoing project to come up with something a little bit better than Facebook for that purpose. Unfortunately, Facebook's fairly ubiquitous online, and it is a lot of people's, if not sole connection with the internet, certainly one of their major ones. So it has been a challenge to come up with something that serves that purpose as effectively and as relatively easily as something like a Facebook group. We are always working on trying to improve our online communication, our digital tools, and our access to resources so far as that goes. Given that we're so involved with the online world, Gemini Ministry has a tendency to be fairly technophilic. That said, I will say upfront that we have definitely run into the edge of the growth of social media, in that, for example, the temple is not officially on TikTok because I'm old and I don't understand TikTok at all. And we finally hit that point where I was like, oh yeah, it's a thing the kids are doing that I don't get. So I think Gemini Ministry is largely awaiting a volunteer or expert who understands that realm of the internet better, to step up and offer their help in guiding us through its mysteries. So if you are a TikTok expert or no one in the temple who wants to talk to Gemini Ministry about how we can express the temple's existence on there in a lot of the way that I've described, then I would love to hear from them. And they can drop me a line at gemini@templeofwitchcraft.org. Likewise, related to anything concerning our social media and the like, Folks can email media@templeofwitchcraft.org. That currently goes to Lisa Jade, and she can address any questions concerning our social media, use of social media, etc. We're always open to ideas and suggestions so far as that goes. And definitely open to the possibility of expanding the temple's presence on social media within the limits of our, personnel hours. There are only so many hours in the day, and there's only so much content that we can provide so far as that goes. And again, we are trying to focus on the notion of providing information and access to information rather than endless funny memes or opinion pieces, hot takes on things, so far as that goes. The one area of media where we have seen some growth of late is our use of YouTube. We've had a YouTube channel for many years, but it lay fallow for quite some time until online video was starting to become much more of a regular thing, again, with things like TikTok. And with a lot more videos being recorded here on Zoom calls like this one, we began adding a lot more video content to our YouTube channel. And we've gotten a modest number of subscribers, but could, again, potentially be providing more content there. A lot of it is because a fair amount of our video content is for online classes and the like, and things that we ask people to donate for. And so it's a matter of finding balance with the amount of free content that we can provide versus content that's associated with our classes and other sorts of events. We have also been, now that we have an online store on the website, providing more for donation video content as well that folks can purchase and download. And that has included things like the Pillars of the Temple class that Christopher essentially videoed entirely himself, 20 lessons, about 45 hours of video for an online class for folks who are interested in temple, excuse me, in temple inspired witchcraft that is not necessarily have the requirements of our mystery school in terms of homework and mentorship and the like, and is much more of a go at your own pace class to watch videos and learn things. And that was definitely inspired by the trend towards that kind of video content. So we are always expanding, always looking for new ideas and new opportunities in that regard. So I think that I will hand things over to Simon to give you some details about our information tech.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve.
You're welcome.
So welcome, everyone. It's great to see you here at this open house. So one of the changes we made in the last few years, I can't remember exactly how many, but we've moved a lot of the content to Google Workspace, which is the sort of organization-based version of the Google tools that I imagine all of you have had some experience within in your personal lives. And the great part about it is they work much the same from a user point of view. So as we bring people in to, give them an email account, it works like Gmail, and they already know how to use it. That was one of the reasons for doing it. The other one was that it was completely free, and we have unlimited users, so that certainly helps. As a registered nonprofit, Google is generous enough to give us these things. And the other aspect is that when the founders created the temple, they intended it to be multi-generational. It was not something that was going to live and die with them. And in order to do that, we need to disconnect the runnings of the temple and the ministries and so on from individuals who, if they move away or go away or whatnot, we lose all access to anything that they created, any correspondence they had, and so on. So by bringing everything into our Google Workspace, including Classroom, including all email accounts, documents, and so on, it means that when a minister retires, another minister can pick up and actually see the history and be able to search it and so on. And it's all about the temple and not the individual contributors as they go through. So to that end, in addition to providing email accounts for the leadership and for those running particular programs within the temple, we are also offering email addresses to ministerial members, those who have completed successfully Witchcraft 5, as a way of furthering their own ministry and their own work with the Temple of Witchcraft. And thankfully, Google basically gives us unlimited users, so there's really no overhead associated with that. So let's see. So I did want to go over how you can interact with Gemini Ministry in various ways using the contacts that we have. So let me just share my screen. Okay, so you need to contact Gemini Ministry. And they had this lovely, rainbow template. So I was like, yay, this works. So we do have various email addresses within the Gemini Ministry. So the primary one, of course, being Gemini@templeofwitchcraft.org. This is when you when you want to contact Gemini, but you don't necessarily have any more specific idea in mind. Or if you want to contact Steve directly, this is a good way to go. And he can triage those and send them out to the appropriate people. The second one is info@templeofwitchcraft.org. So this is the one that's most public to, on the website and so on. This is just a general, I want to contact the temple. I don't have any information about where I'm going, and this is just our front door, if you will. So this is always, this is always an option, and certainly one that it's great to give out to non-members or prospective members so that they can find out more information about us. And then, of course, if you put a www in front of that, then you get to our website. So one of the relatively new things we've implemented is this support at templeofwitchcraft.org. And what this does in the back end is it connects to a ticket management system called Jira, which some of you may have used at work or in a corporate context or for engineering and various other things, but they do offer a limited free plan, which we're kind of trying out here. And the idea here is that it actually creates a ticket in a queue, and it's much more easy to organize and stay on top of than email threads, which tend to get lost in the shuffle with all the other communication that goes on. So this is one of the reasons we've done this. And we are kind of slowly rolling it out, but the idea is that if you want a new email account, or you need to reset your password and you don't want to do it yourself, which I have enabled now, so you can actually reset your own passwords. You can use support. We also do it for websites, additions and updates. And then one thing to keep in mind is that the Temple Mystery School is under the Sagittarius Ministry, but that is also me as far as the Google Classroom administration. So if you are creating a new class, a need to have a classroom created for you, that can also be done under support, or if you need adjustments made to an existing classroom, that can also be done there. We haven't yet done this for things like events and so on, but I think unless Steve shakes his head, it could also be done through there. Steve does have access, and I basically go through and I triage the requests and make sure they get to the right people. So don't be afraid to use support. But the idea is it's for existing things that already exist, like email and website and event infrastructure, where you're just saying, I want this to get done, and then it goes in a queue and Gemini Ministry get it done. If you want to have detailed discussions about new ideas and more abstract things, then email is probably the right way to go. But we will never chastise you for using support. We want people to use it. So feel free to give that a try if you have need. So then on the right side, I've listed all, or at least most of the other relevant email addresses. So if you want to contact Erica about Queer Spirit, we have queerspirit@templeofwitchcraft.org. If you want to contact Lisa about media for anything social media related, media, as Steve had already mentioned. For website, again, for general website maintenance, you could use support, but you can also contact Leon at webtech@templeofwitchcraft.org. And then for myself, I stylize myself as our tech witch. That's where infotech is, can be used to contact me. Let's see, what else did I want to cover? Yeah, so if you have any questions, please feel free to throw those into the chat, and I'll be happy to answer.
And we'll definitely have a question and answer session after. So in that case, I will hand things over to Erica to discuss our Queer Spirit Ministry.
There, sorry. Hi, I'm Erica. I'm the Queer Spirit Deputy, as Steve said. And so the queer mysteries are the mysteries of the experience of being queer, which has like a very wide variety of faces. In the queer spirit of the temple, we use a very expansive definition of the word queer. So um, we are not interested in policing the boundaries of that because first of all, because just openness and inclusion is a good thing, but also because it feels antithetical to the spirit of queerness to be policing boundaries. Like they don't go together. They don't live in the same space. So queer as we use it means at least gay, lesbian, bisexual, pansexual, asexual, trans, non-binary, genderqueer, polyamorous, intersex, and anything else that feels like it should go in the category, but I forgot to mention or doesn't have a name yet. So don't be shy about joining queer ministry offerings if you feel like you belong there, but I didn't specifically mention your identity. In terms of what our ministry does, we are in Pride Month right now, so a lot of our stuff is happening right now. Starting with next Saturday, on the 10th, we are marching in Boston Pride, which is back, yay! And I really enjoy the new organizers' take on Pride. So around the country, there have been in big cities these debates emerging about what Pride is and should be and how we should celebrate it. And there's kind of two aspects of that debate. One is about companies and political candidates who use Pride as a way of advertising to queer people without really being queer allies any of the rest of the year. And then the other is about the presence of law enforcement in Pride, especially given that Pride is the commemoration of the Stonewall riots, which were riots against police activity towards the queer community. So the new Boston Pride for the People organization is very specifically very tightly limiting corporate logos and such. Basically, if you're like using your work van and it has the name of your company on it, okay, but like other than that, we don't want to see it. And the Boston Police Department has to be present because we're officially closing all the roads in downtown Boston, which is, you know, a thing. They're not marching, and they're just there to like help with the traffic stuff. So instead, we are focusing on what Pride is originally about, which is the commemoration of Stonewall and the flourishing and liberation of queer community and queer expression. So I'm really excited about that, and you are welcome to join us. I just had, and I will get again, hold on, give me a second. There it is, the link to sign up. We are asking you to register for two reasons. One is I am not going to know exactly when and where we're lining up until, I thought yesterday, but I haven't gotten the thing. So if you want to know exactly how to find us and the, you know, thousands and thousands of people who will be marching, register so that I will tell you when I know. And the other is just to keep track of how many people are coming. For the purposes of marching with us in Pride, you do not need to identify as queer. Everyone is welcome. Okay, other things we do. Again, because it is Gemini season and Pride season, I maintain an altar to the queer ancestors from the beginning of Gemini, the sun moving into Gemini, through the end of the date that was the last of the Stonewall riots, which happens to be July 4th. So it's more than a month. It's about 6 weeks. Now I keep an altar that I visit every day. I do bigger devotionals during that time, but not every single day. And on the altar, I keep a list of the queer ancestors that we collectively are recognizing this year. So if you want to put anyone on that list, you are welcome to. So that queer ancestors are queer folks who have passed from this mortal life into the more expansive, mighty dead land. These can be either people that like are famous, so we all know them and you didn't know them personally, but you have a connection to them. Or they can be people you know personally that are known only to you. Either way, anyone that you want to honor. So you can do that very easily. You can put them in chat today. You can email me at queerspirit@templeofwitchcraft.org. However you can get in touch with me, I will be happy to add people, and I add people all the way through. So all the way until July 4th, you can add people. Right now, we are also have a ongoing queer working group that is private. There are 6 of us, and we are observing the Wheel of the Year together online. I hope that when we are through with the cycle, we will have ways of sharing that work with others, but for now we're sort of developing it amongst ourselves. I have also previously taught a class on the queer mysteries in the temple, which I would be happy to do again if there were critical mass that wanted to take it. So if you're interested in that, let me know. There is also a monthly online gathering specifically for men who love men called Spectrum. You can look at our website for the, there's a word I'm missing, but anyway, application, there you go, application to join that. And very exciting, also coming up very soon, because this is the month, the New Hampshire in-person Lissa ritual, which is on June 17th at 7 p.m. In the dairy whatever it's called, Dairy Village Hall, something like that. Yeah, okay. Is going to be very queer. Basically, Gemini said to Pisces, could we have this one? And they said, sure. And it's going to be incredible. And I really encourage you to come because it's going to be a lot of fun. And, also spiritually enriching and also fun because that's Pride, right? It's a particular way that queer spirit manifests in liberation as play or play as liberation. So they go together. It's part of who we are, and it will be part of the experience of Litha, which is awesome. And I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. What am I forgetting? Oh, right. You wanted me to talk about how all gods are queer. Yeah. So this was personal gnosis at one of our temple fest fires of the queer spirit rituals of mine, but it makes perfect sense when you think about it more deeply that if we define queer as everything outside of heteronormative gender binary and relationship binary, those boxes can't hold divinity in any form. So therefore, all divinities, all deities are queer. There's also a great large volume of tales of various deities and various traditions that either deities who are generally associated with a gender having relationships with people or deities or demi-deities of the same gender. Lots of stories of deities switching genders or existing outside of gender or showing up in some way. One of my favorite of those is a story from the Norse mythology where the gods are trying to build this giant fortress and they hire this guy to help them, but he says he wants to marry Freya if he's successful. So they're like, okay, we're going to give you this incredibly strict time limit and there's no way you'll be able to do it. Except it turns out, of course, that he's a giant in disguise and he's going incredibly quickly. And he has this horse who's also key to the speed at which he is building the fortress. And it was Loki who sort of suggested that they work with this guy. And so all the gods and goddesses are like, Loki, come on, you again. You did this on purpose. And he's like, really? I didn't. And they're like, well, you made this mess. You got to fix it. So on the last day before the deadline, when the fortress is not quite complete, a mare shows up to distract this horse, which is successful, and they go galloping off into the forest. And Loki stays away for 9 months and comes back, having, through that relationship, given birth to the steed that Odin will ride. So lots of stories like that. That's one of my favorites, but there's seriously a lot of them. So last Gemini season, I made a bunch of videos, which I think are probably still on our YouTube channel. So if you are interested in more stories like that, so there were, I did a bunch of different kinds. So there's me talking about various aspects of queer mystery sort of in general, stories of queer deities, stories of queer ancestors, other stuff. Anyway, go check it out. They're still there for you. And yeah, I think that's what I've got to say. So I'm happy to answer questions in the chat or out loud. And also happy if you put folks in the chat that you want on the ancestor altar.
Thank you, Erica. All right, so speaking of questions, I am going to let folks unmute themselves if they wish to ask questions. You're also free to type questions in the chat if you'd like. I'd ask that folks take a look at the reactions button down at the bottom of your Zoom window. There's a little raise hand option, just so folks can raise their electronic hand and be called upon to ask their questions, just so that we're not all talking over one another so far as that goes. But if anybody has questions or topics of discussion, suggestions, what have you, we would love to hear them. And as Simon pointed out by way of contact information, should things occur to folks after this open house, you're in the middle of next week and, oh, I should have mentioned this thing at the Gemini thing, please feel free to drop us an email, either to me at Gemini@templeofwitchcraft.org, to the info address, or to any of the specific deputies if it is something that concerns their particular area of interest within the temple. We can also play the game of the great secrets behind the scenes of the temple of just how many email addresses go to Steve. Because I think that I am responsible for the largest number of temple email addresses to one individual person. Chances are, if you don't know who is the other end of a temple email address, it's me.
But we have tried to create new ones that don't go to you.
We have.
We're doing our best.
We have. It is actually an ongoing temple/Gemini goal to create fewer emails that go to me. Jim, do you have a question?
I will in a second once I find my source document so that I can ask an intelligent question.
All right, fair enough.
I know when are we doing the Litha for the queer group?
That's a good question. I know that the next Spectrum Circle meeting is on June 8th.
But I think you're talking about the working group, which is June 18th.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, yes, I found the document finally, just as she said that. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the cool things that we do is going through the wheel of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much got Maven done already.
Awesome.
I just need to edit it and read it down. So.
Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of disappointed that I'm not doing that group, but unfortunately, I cannot do all the things.
Oh, come on, Steve. Send in the clone.
Try though I might. All right, well, I'm getting the impression that we do not have a lot of questions from that resounding silence, or that folks would prefer not to ask them in this context. So, like I said,
I'll ask one. It's not actually so much a question as an observation.
sure.
But when you were talking about Gemini as the insubordinate role, I wondered to myself if this wouldn't be shared with Aquarius ministry.
Well, Aquarius is the rebel as their archetype. And there certainly are some similar aspects, but Aquarius's role as the rebel is primarily more to innovate as far as that goes. And there's certainly some crossover. But Aquarius is about getting people together and finding new ways to do things. And that's part of what makes Aquarius responsible for our public gatherings like Temple Fest, which are just such powerful sources of inspiration for the temple as a community. I know that I will often come to Temple Fest exhausted because of the amount of work that goes into leading up to Temple Fest. And, we'll have the experience of, Temple Fest, do we have to do this? But I always come away from the experience feeling reinvigorated and energized and, having a powerful experience of community and sacred space and being like, oh, that's why we do this.
That's always the way it is.
Exactly. And that is very much Aquarius's quality is of getting people together and saying, you know, like, let's look at this in another way.
So it might be fair to say, Gemini says, we need to find a new way of doing this. And Aquarius says, let's figure out a new way to do this.
Yeah, and sometimes Gemini is the one that says, do we need a new way of doing
Doing
this?
this. Okay.
When sometimes people are like, you know, we have to do this new thing. And sometimes it's Gemini's responsibility to go, do we?
Do we?
Like,
Um,
I don't know,
Okay.
you know, as
Right.
far as that goes.
Right. I just think it's interesting to look at the different ministries of the temple, you know, and on one hand, they are responsible for certain aspects and function of the temple as a whole, but on the other hand, they're connected to a wheel, a spoke,
Yep.
you know, where they all intersect.
Yep.
And so it's that kind of that intersectional quality of the temple in general that I find really interesting.
Yeah, and that's deliberate. One of the things, it's proven challenging in some ways in that our ministries are very porous, and there's a lot of interaction, and there are definitely things we do to support one another, and there are definitely discrete areas that we focus on. But at the same time, we have a lot of crossover. There are people who are deputies in multiple ministries, or people who are lead ministers of a ministry, but also deputies in another. And we want that to be much more about, you know, just areas of focus rather than hard boundaries. You know, we don't want the temple's ministries to be viewed as you know, like divisions as such. Like, you know, I work for Gemini ministry, and that's, you know, it. I don't do anything else, you know. Instead, we want the ministries to be able to have enough space to focus on the things they do, but also to be able to, as you said, to have that crossover, to have that intersectionality, where we work together on a variety of things as well. It's a tricky thing to navigate sometimes, but I think overall it is a structure that has served us well.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, Jim.
I was reminded as you were saying that of the old improv adage of saying yes and instead of yes no, or yes but, or yes or.
Yeah.
And is good because then you get people who have enough background with a little bit of everything to step in if needed. The other thing I wanted to say was a big thank you to all of the techies who make things like this and the temple hearth and the other things happen, because I've been part of organizing events. In fact, I would do the grunt work of organizing some of the events, all of it. So I understand that whole exhausted leading up to trying to get everything ready and going.
Yeah.
And then being able to after it's over, step back and go, yes, that was great, and that's why we need to do this. So I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
I understand completely and empathize that whole exhausted thing. For all of you.
It's a fair amount of work, but it is worthwhile. And we're always working on ways to improve, you know, how we're handling events and the like.
It is noted and appreciated very much.
Indeed. Thank you, David. Appreciate you coming. All right. Any other questions folks would like to ask? Observations? Just things you've always wondered about Gemini ministry? What have you? I will mention one just sort of bit of temple trivia, that the most challenging aspect of the organization of our ministries is that one of the most frequent misconceptions is that your sun sign needs to be in that sign in order to be a member of that ministry. We get that question more often than just about any other about our various ministries of, oh, I'm a Virgo, can I be in Gemini ministry? And we get that a lot. And honestly, if I had to do it over again in terms of advising Christopher on our structure, I would have been like, can we find another way to explain that that will make it super clear to people? Ironically, I think I am the only lead minister whose sun sign actually does match his ministry.
And I am a Sagittarius, so my other deputyship does match.
Does
but
match.
Coincidental, yes.
But yeah, we get that a lot.
Mhm.
You know, or just the general assumption of I'm, you know, whatever, I'm an Aries, so I should be sorted into Aries ministry. And like, no, it doesn't work that way.
It's not the sorting hat. You can
No,
have
no.
more than one.
No, it is not.
Though one of the things I did learn in studying the elements and things like that astrologically and where our chart kind of falls in that is sometimes if you have a lack in a particular element, to bring balance, you should do things that that element embodies. And so maybe volunteering for you know, for doing something in a ministry would be looking at your chart and see what you need to balance.
Yeah, indeed. All right. Well, if there are not any other questions, I will suggest that we take just a quick 5-minute break for folks to do water in, water out, as Matuka says. And then we will reconvene for an offering of the Gemini ministry ritual and an honoring of the queer ancestors and any remaining questions, thoughts, observations, and such folks may have. So I'm going to pause our recording. Briefly recap. This is an offering of the Gemini ritual of blessing, which is an outer Gemini ritual that is associated in particular with the queer ancestors. Since we're performing this ritual virtually, we won't necessarily have some of the ritual components, but I will ask you instead to work with us in vision to visualize those elements of the ritual. If you would like, you are welcome to also make the offerings associated with the ritual on your own altar, in your own ritual space, if you'd like, but by no means required. So I'm going to ask everybody to find a comfortable seat. You're welcome to have your camera on or off virtual as you prefer. And I'd like us to just begin by settling into our space, taking a deep cleansing breath. Just release any areas of tension in your body as you breathe. Feel waves of relaxation come over your body, settling into your space, relaxing your body, relaxing your mind, relaxing your spirit here in this place and time. I'm going to count down from 12 to 1. Upon the screen of your mind, draw or see the number 12. 12. See the number 12. Allow it to fade. See the number 11. 11. See the number 10. 10. 9. 8. 7. 6. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Release the screen of your mind and just listen and allow the numbers to take you deeper. 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now in a meditative state, in full command of your psychic and magical abilities, recall the screen of your mind. In that inner space, visualize a working altar. It may be your own altar at home, the altar of your inner temple, or a similar working space. And upon that altar, we light a candle. See its flame flare to life. With this candle, we call upon the queer spirit, that great mystery that lies outside of the binary. O queer spirit, be embodied here in this flame. May your light illuminate our work. And through this medium of the queer spirit, I call to Zaz, the trickster. Teach us to perceive things from the outside. I call to the spirits of the Temple of Witchcraft. I call to Tawathan, winged and horned serpent, spirit guide and guardian of the temple. Be present here and guide us in this work. Hail and welcome. I call to the queer ancestors. O ancestors of queer spirit, you who have walked the path before us, you who have opened and eased the way for us, we follow in your footsteps. May we open and ease the way to guide those who follow us, so that we in turn may be worthy ancestors to join you in the realm beyond the veil. Know, O ancestors, that you are always welcome by the light of our circle in love, will, and wisdom. Named and unnamed, gather here to receive the blessings of your embodied descendants. Those who rest in peace, those who rise in power, I call upon the forgotten dead, those unmarked and unremembered, as well as those named and known. Hail and welcome. We say in our tradition that what is remembered lives. And so, in the name of the ancestors, I honor and speak these names. Gilgamesh, Enkidu, Kunhotep, Akhenaten, Smenkhare, Orpheus, Dionysius of Syracuse, Alexander of Pherae, Periander of Ambracia, Solon, Sappho, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Antinous, Alexander the Great, Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, Hadrian, Saint Sebastian, King Richard the Lion-Hearted, Jacques de Molay, Lord Byron, Piotr Tchaikovsky, Francis Bacon, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Margaret Clapp, Dr. James Barry, Wiwa, Ralph Waldo Emerson, Oscar Wilde, Lord Alfred Douglas, Aleister Crowley, Fiona MacLeod, the women of the Black Triangle and the men of the Pink Triangle, Rock Hudson, Andy Warhol, Walt Whitman, Alan Turing, Marsha P. Johnson, Harry Hay, Harvey Milk, Lou Purkis, Alex Sanders, Herman Slater, Eddie Brzezinski, Leo Martello, Scott Cunningham, Matthew Shepard, Eddie Gutierrez, Jackie Shane, Nathan Smith, Willow Oakswood, David Irwin. All you ancestors of queer spirit, those named and unnamed, those known and unknown, gathered here in the light of our circle. Raise and hold aloft the candle upon the altar. By fire, we offer you this light so that you may see in this world and all others and may be seen. Upon the altar, we pour a vessel of water, a glass or chalice, breathing upon the waters and blessing them. By water, we offer you this to quench your thirst and bring you clarity. Kindle upon the altar incense, sweet smoke rising into the air, wafting around us. By air, we offer you this incense to strengthen your form and voice in this world. And bring forth from your heart any other gift or offering you wish to offer up to the queer ancestors. Raise it in your hands or place it upon your altar. O ancestors, we offer this gift of the heart, our connection to you. Know that you are remembered and loved and welcome. Take this moment to listen to the voices, the ancestors of queer spirit, or even the voice of the queer spirit itself. What messages have they for you? Then we prepare to conclude our rite. Know that you are empowered to return to this place, to stand before this altar in vision or in body, and to call upon the spirits and the ancestors again, should you wish to speak or commune further. We give our thanks. We give thanks to the queer ancestors, both known and unknown, named and forgotten. Ancestors of queer spirit, you who have walked the way before us, you who have shown and opened the way for us, may we follow in your footsteps and follow your example to open and ease the way for those who will follow us, so that we may be worthy ancestors in our turn. Know that you are always welcome by the light of our circle in love, will, and wisdom. We give thanks to Tawathon, winged guardian, and to the spirits of the Temple of Witchcraft for their guidance and protection. We give thanks to Zazaz, the trickster, spirit of Gemini, you who are holder of the cloak and the carnelian, of the mask and the medicine bag. Thank you, Zazaz, for teaching us to always continue to seek and to learn. And we give thanks to the queer spirit, the vast undefined mystery, the endless collection of magic and wonders. Though this flame be extinguished, we know that your fires can never be. All spirits gathered here in perfect love and perfect trust, stay if ye will, go if ye must. Hail and farewell. Altar, workspace, the astral temple fades. We prepare ourselves to rise and return, counting up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Be aware of your fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. 7, 8, 9. More and more present. 10, 11, and 12. Open your eyes, breathe deeply, ground yourself in your presence and your body. You may wish to raise your hands over your head, sweep them down in front of your body and out away from you. I give myself clearance and balance. I'm in balance with myself. I am in balance with the universe. I am present. And with our thanks and blessings, we will end this recording. And thank you all who have joined us, both here in person, as well as later on by this recording. Thank you and blessed be.